If you've ever started a strength training program with the best of intentions, just to find yourself back on the sofa 3 weeks later, wondering what went wrong, then this episode is for you. My name is Chris. I'm a physiotherapist with an interest in strength training for older adults. And today I'm going to talk about why it's not your motivation that's your problem. It's your lack of systems or your systems not being good enough. Now, this is one of my favorite books. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he talks about within the book a quote that I think is really important and really relates to getting started with strength training as an older adult. So the quote is, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." So again, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Now, what does that actually mean and how does that relate to strength training? So I want to unpack that a little bit further. So let's talk about goals first. So goals are those desired outcomes that you want to get from doing strength training. So most people think fairly generic on these. So it might be getting stronger, being healthier, feeling more confident. I think goal planning is one of the most overlooked areas of strength training, and not a lot of people do it in enough detail. So it's often worth going a little bit deeper with that. So it might be, think you visualize what you really want to be able to do in the future. So is it be able to get on a trampoline with your grandchildren? Is it just want to be able to get on and off the floor without need to use your hands, without being in pain? Are you thinking that you might be giving up your sport soon and you really want to continue playing it? Do you want to be able to do all those jobs in the garden? Do you want to go on that long sort of active holiday that you've been thinking of doing when you retire? The more detailed you can get and the more you can visualize yourself doing things in the future, the stronger your goals are going to be and the easier that might be to kind of keep motivated. But I'm going to talk through why that's not enough in a second. Then we come on to systems. The systems are those daily and weekly processes and habits that we form that are going to get you there. They're going to get you towards those goals that you've just thought about. You don't succeed based on how much you want something, but on how good your system is. So James Clear, the author of that book, Atomic Habits, he often uses the example of an Olympic gold medalist. So if we take someone who's in a race in the Olympics, they've won a gold medal. They didn't win the gold medal because they had a stronger desire to win than the person in second or third. They may have won because they have arguably better systems in place. Yes, there's probably some genetic factors in there as well. There's some conditions on the day, etc. But the point is, you can't just have a really strong desire to have an Olympic gold medal and not really do anything about it and turn up on the day and win that gold medal. They have to have systems that are made and adapted and progressed over time, including things like their training that they do, the nutrition to supplement that training or complement that training. They also need to know recovery strategies. They want to build a good support team around them that are going to really help put all those other bits in place. They need to create better daily habits. And the same principle applies to you. The difference between someone who successfully builds strength and someone who gives up on their journey isn't the desire they had in the first place, it's having the right system in place. I often see people in the clinic or people who find me through Never Too Old to Lift, and a common thing I might see, particularly in the new year, is January 1st, right, this is the year I'm finally going to get strong. They thought about the goals, they've got a strong desire of what they want to get out of it. And week one, they turn up to the gym, they feel motivated, they feel energetic, they're looking forward to it, and everything is very positive. Week two, still going, still feeling pretty energetic and motivated, but not quite as much as the week before. And actually, it's already started to feel slightly harder. Week three, they've missed a day or two, starting to feel a bit guilty about it, but they still turn up on the other day and they're still doing a bit of a workout. So it still feels okay. Week 4 or 5, they've missed even more. They've had a few days in a row. Okay, maybe I'm going to start again Monday. And then a few more days rolls around. And then if we jump ahead a month or 2, back to their old habits of just the odd sporadic workout, not hitting the results they wanted to get, not making any movements towards those goals that they really visualize themselves wanting to be able to do. So why does this happen? So motivation is effectively an emotion. And as emotions do, they fluctuate. Sometimes they're really strong. Sometimes they wean and they're not so strong. And relying on feeling motivated to turn up to the gym is like a bit like relying on the weather. It's not consistent. So when motivation drops, and it will, you're going to have nothing to fall back on. So the real problem isn't that you're not motivated enough. The problem is you're trying to build strength without having put a system in place. So that's all well and good, but what does a system look like for someone who is an older adult who wants to try and build strength, particularly if they've never really done it before and they're fairly new to this? Firstly, the system I sort of tend to use and guide people through is the first point is we do need to establish those goals, as we've talked about. A lot of people jump past that step, and the goals are really going to give us the reason to put the system together in the first place. And if you've not developed strong, tangible goals, realistic goals, your system might be a bit weaker as you're trying to put it together. So don't skip that step. But that's when we come on to kind of really putting the system together of, well, firstly, we need to schedule sessions in. We need to have consistent training to be stronger. So are the training days going to be the same days each week? If not, can you start putting a program in place that you look through the diary a month ahead and pick 2 days that you could do them on, rather than thinking, I'm just going to turn up to the gym or do my home workouts on the days when I feel like it? Because as you go further, those days have become less and less. Whereas if you can put dates in the diary, almost treat them like important appointments that you have to attend, and you can build the rest of your schedule around them. That is kind of a really important first step. Then what do we do when we turn up to our home gym or the actual gym? We need to know what exercise options we're actually able to do around your current ability level, around any current pains or injuries or conditions that you might have. Is trying to turn up and then work it out on the day takes a lot of mental energy. Whereas if you've planned it in advance, we've worked out what exercise options are available to you, and we've started to put those in a bit of a structure of a workout, maybe 4 exercises, possibly 5 exercises you're going to do on the day that you turn up. Again, the less you have to think about on the day, the easier it's going to be to keep that motivation to turn up and do it. Once you've worked out what exercises you're going to do on your workout, then we need to know, okay, well, what number of repetitions are you going to do? How many sets of them are you going to do? What weights are you going to get started with? And again, the more things you have to try and work out on the day without a clear plan, the harder it's going to be. The more you've really thought about this in advance and you've built a plan that was going to progress over time in terms of the repetitions and the sets and the weight you're using, and you know what the next step is if you can do that one successfully, then again, there's less to think about. You're just working through a system that you've created already. Then there might be other things that people often don't think about is, what are you going to do before each session? Are you going to do a bit of a warm-up? Are you going to do a bit of cardio first? Are you just going to do some of the same exercises with not as much weight? Having a little bit of a routine once you're in the gym to build up to that main workout can be really effective. Another thing to think about is, what are you going to do particularly if you're going to the gym and the bits of equipment you normally use are in use and you can't get to them? Have you got any plan Bs in place? Because that's often a big thing. Then we need to think about, what you're doing on the days where you're not in the gym, because recovery is quite important too. So you don't want to push the same muscle groups to fatigue on consecutive days. You want a day in between where you're not doing them, but you could be doing something else like Pilates or a different sport or swimming or running. Again, how are you going to plan that in around your strength training workouts? Are you going to make any changes in your nutrition to complement it? Are you going to think about the sleep you're getting to complement it? So that's something to think about and build that system in within everything else we talked about. And then we can talk about support and accountability. People who have some form of accountability to someone tend to do a lot better and stick at it for a lot longer than people who are doing this completely isolated from others. So is there anyone that can help you stay on track that you'll have a check-in with and let them know how you're doing? Is there anyone you can sort of troubleshoot and talk through any problems you're having? That can be a really helpful part of it and worth, again, finding from the start rather than waiting till you get into a problem and then trying to find someone. But the key point is none of these things depend on how motivated you're feeling. It's all about having clear, predetermined actions that you follow regardless of how you feel that day. I want to talk to you about Margaret, who is 67-year-old, who joined my course, Stronger for Life. She had tried exercising in the gym multiple times before, always go for a few weeks, 3-4 weeks, fairly hard to begin with, slowly wean off before giving up with it. And that reinforced to her that she just wasn't a gym person, and got to a point where she felt like, there's no point trying again because I know the pattern. I'm not a gym person. It's just going to happen again. And that's where she kind of came across Never Toiled to Lift and reached out to me and joined the course. And she then started to schedule every time the same, sort of 2 days, every day the same week, or every week the same day, sorry. She started with just body weight based exercises and very light resistance exercises to kind of work out what exercises were good for her. And then she started to add some resistance to them until she could get to the point of muscular fatigue. She knew which exercises she was doing in which workouts. She worked out what weight she needed to get her to muscular fatigue, and she was able to progress. She, throughout the course, there's weekly group Zoom calls that she came to the ones she could, and if not, she just emailed me with progress updates. And all the things we talked about before, she started to implement, and 8 months later, she's still going strong. She doesn't rely on motivation, even the day she's not feeling motivated, because she's got that system in place. She's turning up regardless, and she's able to do her workout. And that then helps increase her motivation, because what you do on those days when you don't feel motivated, if you can still turn up and do something, that is only going to increase your motivation for the next workout anyway. So it kind of does reinforce each other when you get into this. But yeah, she's feeling stronger and more confident than she ever has before. And now she does consider herself a gym person. And she's kind of broken that cycle of telling herself and reinforcing to her that she wasn't a gym person and this kind of thing isn't for her. It's only for those people who've been doing it all their lives. But the lesson is, she didn't suddenly become more motivated. She just had a better system in place. How do you build your system at home? So you don't need a perfect system straight away. You can start with some basics and then make some tweaks to refine your system as you move forward. So it's a very basic start. I would think about trying to pick 2, possibly 3 days each week that you can do your workout, and try and set those in stone if you can. If you've got a bit more flexible diary, is try and plan ahead a few weeks to know which days you can do them in. Then start to pick your exercises, work out what you can do. We can start to plan your progressions going forward in terms of reps and sets. And if you need a bit more guidance on that, then episode 2 of the Never Toiled to Lift podcast will help you with that. It will talk you through all the basics of actually how you go about building strength in terms of repetition sets, weights, etc. So I won't go into too much of that here, and I'll link to that in the show notes of the episode, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you can just find that in the description below. We want to make the environment as slick as possible. We want to remove any barriers that might get in your way. So even little things like laying out your clothes the night before so that when you wake up, you just put your gym gear on if you can do it in the morning. And like one of my members of Stronger for Life, she packs her bag with her, and takes it to work, and goes straight from work to the gym rather than trying to get home, get changed, and then come back out again. Because the time she's home, the chances are she might drop off that at that point and think, actually, I'll leave it to tomorrow, and then fall back into that pattern. We want it to be as easy as possible. If you're working out from home, you might make sure it doesn't take you too long to get your equipment out each time. It's in a fairly easily accessible place. We're trying to remove any friction to actually get started. If you're in the gym, again, you might want to have some of those backup plans for if someone's using a bit of equipment you might do. So it might be just changing the order of what you do. It might be doing a completely different exercise that is similar, or trying to work similar muscles to the one you would have been doing if it was available. We also want to track progress. So if you are doing exercises and 4 or 5 different exercises and you've got a different weight for each one, if you're trying to remember that every time, and what weight did I use, and did I go up last week or did I stay at the same one? And every time you go in, it's going to be hard and take a lot of concentration if you've got to think about it each time. Whereas if you wrote it down, you saw what you did, you can make a little note about whether you found it easy or hard. Then the next time you come in, you just refer back to that. Say, well, this time I'm just going to do this way, and you go straight in with it. And then you can keep adjusting based on what's working and what's not working. But yeah, with a good system in place, you'll be amazed at how much less you need to rely on motivation to continue your workouts. Now, that was kind of a whistle-stop tour of all of this. And there's a few things probably in there that might have confused you. Like I've already talked about reps and sets and weights and what you might choose, and you feel a bit overwhelmed with all of that. Then I say, listen to episode 2. I also have a completely free ebook you can download that is going to guide you through how to create your first workout program based on a lot of the things we just talked about. So if that's of interest, go to nevertooltolift.com/ebook. And again, I'll link to that below and in the show notes. If you are someone who would prefer a physical book, then you can also find that on Amazon just by searching Never Too Old to Lift on Amazon. And if you've got any questions, then please feel free to put those in the comments on YouTube, or send me an email. It's chris@nevertooldtolift.com. And let me know about your systems. Comment below with any sort of things you've added into your system that's really helped you on the days where your motivation isn't there. Yeah, I'd love to kind of hear what other kind of ideas that people are using there. And again, if you're on audio, just send me an email with the same thing, or just jump over to YouTube. All the episodes go on YouTube as a video, as well as being on sort of Apple and Spotify, etc., as the audio podcasts. So it's often worth jumping over there. So just make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. If you are on YouTube, giving the video a quick like or thumbs up is really helpful to help get this spread out to more people. Next week, we've got a great episode. So if you are going through perimenopause or have been through menopause and you want to learn more about how to get started and how your changes in your body might make training more difficult, but equally how we can adapt around it to make it more positive again, I've got an interview with Michelle Lyons, who is a menopause expert. She's a physiotherapist. She teaches other physios on how to adapt things around menopause. And we have a great discussion around all things training and menopause related. Do tune in for that one, and that'll be next Wednesday. But for now, I'll leave you to it, and I will see you next week.